Hi, everyone. Harry here. You hear the thunderous roar of the Pacific Ocean behind me. 3,000 miles away, some thunder coming from Manhattan, the Southern District of New York, where Judge Hellerstein has just issued a thunderous opinion, completely striking down the administration's interpretation of the Alien Enemies Act. Adam Klasfeld, as always, is on the job. I've given it a quick look. He's given it a longer one. Adam, what's going on?
Well, Harry, we talked last time about how scathing Judge Hellerstein was in court, and he put that all in his opinion. If you don't mind, I just want to read the first couple
Please.
of paragraphs here
The words of the rule of law. Go for it.
from Judge Hellerstein. This nation was founded on the self-evident truths that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He quotes a Declaration of Independence there. Continues, our Constitution embodies these truths in a limited government of enumerated powers, in its system of checks and balances separating the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and in its guarantee that neither citizen nor alien be, quote, deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, end quote. It
Let's
continues.
and we're going for more, but I just want to point out, look, this has always seemed like the most fundamental of misinterpretations by the government because every individual down there without authority has just been it's the ultimate kind of nightmare in a of all society. Somebody grabbed by the scruff of the neck, thrown into a bus, and next thing they know, they're in a hellhole in El Salvador. Hellerstein sees these broader stakes for each and every individual. What's the bottom line ruling, Adam, and what happens next?
It's that the Alien Enemies Act is ruled unlawful. He went down the same list that the Texas federal judge
Yep.
had gone down, saying there's no declared war, there's no predatory incursion, there is no invasion. In terms of what's next, Harry, there is a hearing that he's scheduled for a pretrial conference on May 21st. So I'll be there in court. They're going to be
Of
in
course
court.
you will. And am I right? That's 3 days because we now have a little bit of an interesting race going on because Judge Rodriguez in the Southern District of Texas will feed up to the Fifth Circuit, but Hellerstein to the Second Circuit, and the Supreme Court may take only one case here. And you have to imagine if you're just rolling the dice that the Second Circuit opinion is going to be stronger. But in any event,
Right.
it seems like both are quite strong, but Hellerstein sounds the broader constitutional refrain of just what a kind of nightmare and fundamental violation of the law this is. To quickly remind everyone, this is Trump, maybe the brainchild of Stephen Miller, saying, oh, we can invoke this act that's only been used 3 times in wartime to say that people in the country represent, because they're part of Tren de Aragua, a predatory incursion by a foreign country. We learned yesterday, by the way, that the intelligence community doesn't believe that it's got anything to do with Venezuelan control. So it's always seen far-fetched. But now this is served up. We have all these people down there under that authority, which makes a huge crisis, but it's a big body blow to the administration. And now there's 4 different courts where this is pending, but we have now something of a race, or how would you think it would play out, Adam, between the Second Circuit and the Fifth Circuit?
Well, there is a ruling here that, I mentioned there's another court date, but he just issued a preliminary injunction. It's
Right.
totally conceivable that this goes up to the Second Circuit, just as the Texas ruling goes on its own appellate path. It's happening. The Second Circuit is literally right next door to where this courthouse is. So we'll be on top of that as well. I wanted to call folks'
Please.
attention to some of the language in here. You mentioned how horrible this prison is, where we've sent more than 200 people. This is his language. The destination, El Salvador, a country paid to take our aliens, is neither the country from which the aliens came nor to which they wish to be removed, but they are taken there and there to remain indefinitely in a notoriously evil jail, unable to communicate with counsel, family, and friends. So it's worth commenting on that
Yep.
notoriously evil jail. This is what one other judge in Maryland called one of the most dangerous prisons in the Western Hemisphere. It's because they intentionally, by policy, the strongman ruler of El Salvador intentionally mixes rival gangs so they can do harm to each other. In fact, one of the outrages of the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case was they accused him of being MS-13 and put him in a prison that mixed members of that gang, which there's no evidence that he is, with members of Barrio 18, which is a rival gang. So this
It's
is
even worse, right, Adam? Because he had a holding by an immigration judge saying, whatever you do to this guy, don't send him to El Salvador because this will eventuate. So we really have just a kind of malicious is too mild a word. I would say evil. And even if this invocation of statutory authority were solid or correct, that doesn't mean that we could just send somebody down indefinitely to another country. There's a whole like Eighth Amendment issue here. Now, this is a huge mess, but it's a mess of the administration's own making. And if they fold their arms and say, oh, too bad, we can't do anything, talk about two black eyes in the world community. This is really a vivid indictment of what the administration did precipitously to try to get away with it quickly before courts would do exactly what they've done now to make it irrevocable, which is, really a bit of evil business.
Absolutely. And you were right to point out earlier, there's been a lot of movement in these cases and in the issues surrounding these cases. To point out again what you said, Harry, that we now know that the intelligence community absolutely
Right.
debunks the whole notion that this was a gang that works hands in glove with the Maduro regime. It was a fantasy, and now the intelligence community has confirmed it was a fantasy.
You could say a fantasy, but a fiction, really. They knew
Yeah.
it then. We know it now, but they knew it then when they were asserting it. This is really ugly, bad government in six different ways, right?
100%. And another more news that came out yesterday from Politico, that there's another person like Kilmar Abrego Garcia
Right, a whole new
who
one.
has now been identified, who we now know by name was subject to a court order saying, do not deport this man
Yep.
because he has pending asylum claims. They sent him anyway. So there's more cracks in the veil of secrecy here. Remember, we don't know who many of these more
Yeah.
than 200 people
Many,
are.
yeah, the
Now we
ACLU asserts there are many more down there who have no business. But even if they had business, even the worst, nastiest member of the Tren de Aragó who's in the United States, there was no legal authority to do with them what they did. And by the way, they were all detained at the time. It's not as if they posed any kind of real danger within the domestic landscape, but they did it anyway to get them to this hellhole, right?
absolutely to get them to this, in the words of this federal judge,
Yeah.
notoriously evil prison. And one more news development I want to flag for folks
Please.
watching right now. A coalition of 14 different news organizations is now fighting for to unseal court records in the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, saying that the eyes of all branches of government are on this case and the eyes of the public. They want maximum transparency. So in a case where, again, hundreds of people, we don't know who they are, we find out their names because loved ones, family members recognize them on a propaganda video of Nayib Bukele and say, that's my, you know, brother or my sibling, whoever, and recognize him. We need more transparency. And that's what 14 different news organizations across the political spectrum. I think the New York Post is on there, the Wall Street Journal, NBC News, CBS, ABC. There's a fight to find out what's going on, and then there's the fight against what's going on.
Very well put. And I know one set of eyes that are on there and fast, and that would be Adam Classfeld. Such a great ability to be able to talk to you right away, and for the Talking Feds listeners to hear from you. We'll follow it, read Hellerstein's opinion more carefully, but to have this quick dispatch, that's what Substack Live is for. And Adam, as always, I thank you for being there, and thank you for coming to us and having a Substack Live right away.
Thank you, Harry. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure.
Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.